So I'm going to share my screen at this point so we can go together. So you can see P6, right? So this was the question that was circulated. And the question 1.1 is create a project with the following information. Now, this type of question that I gave to you, those are the type of question you get when you go for planning interviews. Those are the kind of questions they will give you, and these are real scenario questions that you need to apply, right? The question says, create a project with the following information. First, you have your project ID. You have your project ID, and your project ID is P6 test. Project ID is P6 test. So remember when we were creating our project, we had that ID, the ID column. The project name should read construction program. Then the third one is plan start date and data date. Plan start date and data date. What this means is your plan start date and your data date should be the same because you're still planning. We'll come to that, but I want us to understand what the question is and what it's saying, because if you don't understand the question, you might get it wrong. Then must finish by date. So that is the date your project will finish. So that means you have a constraint there. So this question is going to help us to address a lot of areas, right? Then calendar, we have calendar, 5-day work week calendar. So by the time we'll be treating calendars, we'll see how that pans out. Then the next is activity type. Activity type, and it will be tax dependent, so that it will determine how your activity calculations will happen. What would be the driver? So for tax dependent, it will now go for duration will be the driver of your activities. Then duration type, fixed duration and units. So we'll see how we're going to apply all of that, but it's giving you everything you need to use. Then your percentage complete type should be physical. Well done, well done. Yeah, it should be physical. Then question number 2 is 1.2 is creating the following WBS, the following work breakdown structure. Creating the following work breakdown structure. So the first one, you create construction program, and your project ID, your WBS ID is P6 text, and that's your project level, and that's your project ID as well. Then P6 text point 1 is your project management. P6 text point 2 is your design and approval. P6 text, and they are all sibling WBS. They are all on the same level. They are all on the same level. We'll be doing that and see how it pans out. So we're really going to get our hands dirty today. Yeah. Then 1.3 is add the following activities and milestones. So this is where we'll be creating activities. I think yesterday we stopped at WBS. So today we'll be creating activities. So we'll start all over again by creating a project and creating WBS, then creating our activities. So let me see in the chat section, if you know you've tried to you created an EPS, just say I did. So I want to see the number of persons that were able to create an EPS so that we know we can start creating a project today. So let me see that in your chat box to say I did. So I can know, because if you don't have an EPS, that's your enterprise project structure, you might not be able to create a project. So those of us that have Primavera installed already, let's see if you were able to create your enterprise project structure. So when we're done creating the activity, and these are the activity ID. These are the activity IDs, 100, 200, 300. So we see how all of that, how we pull that up in the schedule. Then add the following relationships, the different relationship types. Remember the list I gave to us yesterday, the sequence of creating a project schedule. So that is what we're going to apply in this case. It's going to follow that. That's the traditional sequence of creating your project schedule. Then add the following constraints. So like I mentioned earlier, there will be constraints. Okay, so let's get started. I think let me see if there are any things I need to address. Sorry, I can see your screen, but can only hear your voice, please. Oh, please, can everyone see my screen? Someone is saying they can't see my screen. Can they see my screen now?
Your screen is quite visible. We can see your screen here.
Okay, some persons are saying they can't see my screen.
Maybe they are logging in from a mobile device.
A handheld. Okay.
Handheld device.
All right. Okay, I think I've seen 2 persons said they were able to create. Thank you very much. Chikwendo and Adetola Adeni. Thanks. Okay, so we are armed with this question. I'm going to pull it away to my other screen. So I took my time to read it out because you might not be seeing it. You might be hearing me referring to it, but you might not see it here because I have a shared screen. So I'm moving it off this screen, right? So that I guess everyone has it in their mailbox. So you can open it and you'll be referencing it as well. So yesterday we talked about the P6 Primavera interface, the P6 Professional, and what the outlook looks like. What does the screen look like? When I open my project window, what do I see? What does it look like? So I'll mention again that where you see my mouse moving, those are your toolbar, your tools bar. The tools you're seeing here, they are your tools bar. Then, like I mentioned also, so you have the menu at the top, the menu where you have file, edit, view. Those are the menu. So when you want to open so if you look at your file, if I open to file, you see your print preview, your import, your print preview those are the keys you use for printing, your page setup, and all of that is when you want to print the work you are done, you have completed. That is when you use those ones. Your import keys, they are there. Your refresh button. Maybe I've changed some things and I want to refresh so that the data comes. So you have your menu. I was talking about the file, what you see in file, that when you drop down, you see all of that, your refresh button. You want to see your recent projects that you have opened. This is it, and you can exit. Then under view, that's where you have your layout. I want to change different layouts. I want to see a different, like my screen is not the same thing you might be seeing because my layout is different. So if you come here, if you look at this, you see layout project 1. So your own might be a different thing. So because I can go to view and I configure my layout to whatever suits me. If I open here, you see a lot of gamuts of layouts, different layouts that I have here. If I open a project, you see the different project layouts as well, WBS layouts. So this is where all that magic happens, right? All the magic happens. Your top, if I want to remove this bottom, maybe let me open a project as a guide. Yeah, I want to open a project. I just right click and say open projects. Now, I talked about we having the bottom layout and the top layout for your schedule. So on your Primavera window. So what you're seeing as a whole is your Primavera window. And if you see this, you see your show bottom. That's your bottom layout. So I can say no bottom. Once I say no bottom, all these parts, this area will disappear. Maybe I don't want to see this part anymore. I just want to walk straight. If I come here and I say no bottom, it goes off. So you will see the activity details again. So that bottom part is where you have the activity details that when you click on every activity, it shows you the details of those activities, whatever you have loaded in those activities. But when you are printing it, you print it like a normal activity, retyped out like this with only few start dates or wherever you decide to display. So that is what that does. If I want to change different layouts, different views, this is where you configure your view to whatever level, whatever type of view you want to configure. So even it answers to the name view. This one is layout. The first one is layout. This one is your bottom. That's your window, configuring your window, yeah, to whatever you want. Your time scale, your bars, everything that happens on your window. So this is what the keys you use in changing your views to suit the purpose for which you desire, to your desired purpose. Then this is your project menu. Your project menu. Like I said, when we say menu, that means you have different soup, you have odikaiko, you have just a lot of things on the table, on the menu. Like some persons, they will have buffet. And when you have buffet, you have different things on the table, on the menu. So that's just what this menu is all about. You have different things, different keys, different tools hidden in the menu. So when you click on that menu, it drops down and it shows you the different icons, keys that you need to use. So here is activities. This is where, so what you're seeing on the tools bar is your shortcut. What you're seeing, all these ones displayed on your tools bar, they are the shortcut keys. But really, most of those keys reside or warehoused inside the menu. They are warehoused inside the menu. Then you come to enterprise. So under project, I won't talk so much, but because we'll be using it, you have your activities, they are written there, resource assignments, your WBS. So that almighty WBS that you're seeing, you can also add your WBS from here. So if you look at your screen, your project, your window, your Primavera window, and you don't find, Madam Sarah said then there is two bars, this and it's not showing. Brother, you just go to your menu, drop down, and you can still do your work from there. So it must not be, sometimes it has not been configured or you're not able to bring it out on the window, then you just go to your menu and pick it from there. Then you have your enterprise. So I said yesterday we will be knowing the difference between enterprise and project functions. Enterprise and project functions. What are those keys that are meant for enterprise? That means they are used globally. You can use it for different projects. Then there are some that are project specific. Now, so this enterprise, where you have enterprise, most of the keys here, you are using it globally. That means any project within this database, you can use this to work on it. You can click on it. It can give you like calendar, any calendar you pick from here, it can work for any project, right? Your resource codes, your resources, your name it, your resource curves and all of that. You can pick that from here. But project is used for project specific. Like when we're talking about WBS, anything on that project, all these keys on that project, they are used for only a project. That means my project must be open before these keys will come out. So if I go back to my project layout. That means I've closed the project I was working on, right? I've closed the project I was working on, and I want to open this. There are some keys that you will not see. So my project is still open. I haven't closed it. So there are some keys, right, that you will not be able to, you will not be seeing. Excuse me. Okay, so something like this layout. This layout you're seeing now is for only project layout. It's for only project, and that means it's a global. Sorry, it's the global layout. You see global here is the global layout. Anybody that has access to this database can use it. Anybody that has access to this data can use these ones. But for this, they are project specific. Those ones are project specific. That means this layout can only open only one project. So what I'm explaining now, there are two different things, but by the time we start its application, then it will become clearer. It might be sounding like Greek right now. Just bear with me. I'm taking us on a journey. Just be patient with me. You will arrive safely. Trust me. I promise us we'll land safely. Okay. So I was talking about your enterprise, right? So your enterprise keys, they are keys that you should use for several projects. All what you're seeing now on my screen, they are all projects. All these massive change out, train 1 and plant rejuvenation, March 2021, MI, and all of that. There are several projects. As you're seeing this envelope kind of thing, you just know it's 1 project, 2 projects, 3 projects, 4 projects, 5 projects, just like that. Yeah, you see the total number of activities on each of those projects. So these keys here can be used on any of these projects. But the project specific type is that a particular project must be open before you can apply it. Yeah, before you can apply it. Now, another good thing that I was explaining the uses, so I'll explain the uses and the advantages of the EPS, having an EPS. So one good thing with Primavera is that it helps you to manage portfolio projects. So maybe we're used to developing only one standalone schedule. So it can help you to manage your project in a portfolio or a program. That's one good thing with Primavera. So as you're having that EPS, you have all these projects. I can decide that, oh, I want to select all these projects, right? I highlight all of them and I'll do analysis on all of them at the same time. So maybe Nathaniel, this Mr. Nathaniel Onurisi is the project manager, right? Is the project manager managing this section, this department. And all these are the projects, and he wants to do an analysis of how these projects are faring. You can do this because you have an EPS. So your EPS, so you are not going to manage it, do your reports as a standalone, but you can do it as a portfolio of projects. So you can manage it. So these projects, all these projects in this cluster, that means I can use it in clusters. Those projects are in cluster A, cluster B. So it's not one project that is in it. So, but your EPS can help you to do that. You can open the projects all at once and do your analysis there. So I've talked about, and that's just that bit to your overview. That's your professional window. So I want to bring this up a little bit so that I can talk about the project details. So if I'm in project window, like I mentioned earlier, as I'm in project window, this button is called project details. But if I am in activity window, the bottom is called activity details. If I am in a WBS window, the bottom is called WBS details. If I am in a resource window, the bottom is called resource details. It goes on and on. that way. Okay, so in this case now, I've changed it to project window, and you have your bottom details. So you have your general, where you have your project ID. You can input your project ID. You can put in your project name, the responsible manager, and all you have here. Then under your dates, that is project level information, not activity. Remember, your project is higher than your activity. Your activity is a subset of your project. Your activity is, your collection of activities is what makes up your project. So in this case, you're looking at your project window, and you're talking about a project at a high level. So you now have your date, your start date, your data dates. Remember that question I raised that time? If you can reflect, it has data dates. We said plan dates. That's the test question I gave to us. Question 1.1, create a project with the following information. So you have plan start date and data date. Now this is where you impute that. Project plan start and data date. Project plan start and data date. You had must finish by. There is one date there that is must finish by. So this is where you put in those information. But we'll be walking around there. But this, so I'm just giving you a little, taking you on a little journey on this, on the Primavera Professional window, so that it's just, you just get used to it and they acclimatize to it. Then if I change to my activity window, I want to bring back my bottom. Remember, I removed it and I just click on details and it comes back. So as I click on each activity, it's showing me details, the status, resources, the WBS, and all what have you, right? So as you click on each of the activities, it changes. If you're not looking at any place, just look at the activity ID here, this A1011. As I keep clicking on different activities, it keeps changing. It shows you that I'm clicking on different activities and it keeps changing. Or if I change to resource, let me see, oh, it's not resource loaded. Okay, so relationships. So if I click on relationships, so you see, it keeps changing. This one has ops in. The next one has 50% on voting as the predecessor. The next one has just like that. So that is just the activity detail. And if I go to the other side, the Gantt side of the Gantt chart side, yeah, of my window, so you have your timeline. That's the major thing you have there, your timeline. So you can decide to change it. If you right click, you can decide to change your bar type, your bar style, your time scale. So that's your timeline. You can change your time scale. You can say, okay, I can decide I want a 3-tier. I want a 3-tier time scale. So it shows me the year, the month, and the days of the week. So usually most of my projects, I plan in hours. So I plan in hours most times. So that's why I usually like my timeline to be in months. So if I'm doing this 3 to be months, so let's see. So you see, I have week and day, because I plan in hours. So my reporting is every day, it's daily reporting. So, but if you have a big project spanning for 2 years, 3 years, so my projects are always very short, 30 days, 40 days, 50 days max. But if you have a project that's spanning for 3 years, 5 years, 2 years, you might not be reporting daily. Your progress report might not be daily. So you can make it weekly and monthly, right? So you can change to say, you can do year and month if it's monthly, right? You can do year and month and say apply. Okay, so you have your year and months. So so when you want to do your reporting now, it will be monthly, September, October. But I know that most projects is only maintenance. When you're doing maintenance, you do maintenance daily. But when you're doing projects like Trade 7 projects, you report monthly. The max is weekly, but the major project reporting is monthly, because for a project that is spanning for 4 years, you will not be reporting daily and coming to Primavera then, because even the progress will not be too significant. Yeah, it won't be. So you wouldn't want to be doing that laborious work daily reporting, but like a schedule that has like 15,000 or 20-something thousand activities, you wouldn't want to be going through daily. So for projects that are spanning that long duration, you can make the duration, but it should be contractual. It should be based on what the contract says. What is the regime of your reporting? That said, so let's go to work. Guys, let's go to work. I hope we're ready. Let me look at the question and answer session. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks. I can see your screen. Thank you. You are very good. Thanks. Okay, what's the data date? Okay, so Brendan will talk about the data date as we work. I will explain what the data date is. The data date, the meaning of the data date changes. It changes, but let's work first, then I'll come to that. Guys, let's go. So first of all, I said yesterday that when you create your project, your EPS, for you to start creating a project, remember our goal is to create a project. Our goal is not EPS, right? Every time you are developing a schedule, you are developing a project schedule, not an EPS schedule. It's not an organizational schedule. No, it is a project schedule. Now, what is our project name? The project name, our project name is what? Construction program. Our project name, from the question you have, the test exercise you have, is what? Construction program. Our project name is construction program. And so we need to now create, we said before you create a project, there must be an existing EPS, enterprise project structure. Enterprise project structure. So let me use my what if EPS to do this demo, to run this class. Just give me some time. Okay, training EPS. Okay, so I'm going to use my what if EPS. So it's not, those ones are not, they're not live EPSs, so I can use them. Okay, so I said you should identify an existing enterprise project structure. Like now, I have identified my enterprise project structure to be what? What if schedules. What if, that's PMT, what if schedules. That is what, so that's where I will have some projects that we're still simulating on. Okay, so that's where I want to do this work on. So you also can identify your own EPS. Yesterday, you created your own EPS. And like someone suggested, right? Like someone suggested, so we can say building construction EPS, right? So we can use building construction EPS. So you can name your own building. That means if you don't have, you can rename, even if you have created, you can rename it to building construction. Like now, I can rename my own. This is my what if now. I'm renaming it to building construction EPS, right? Done. So I've changed it to building construction EPS. I hope we're following. So that's done. So now I want to create my schedule. And I said this thing of my schedule is, the project name is what? construction program. Construction program. So what do? I click. Remember, we said you select your, yesterday we said you select your EPS, and that is what I've done. I've selected my EPS, I've identified my EPS, and also I am on project window. I am on project window. I'm not on activities window, because if you're on activity, I did not enter. No, make sure first you are on project window for you to create a project. That is where you will see EPS. Your EPS is that seemingly WBS that has a yellow node, that has a golden node, a trapezoidal golden node. So that is your EPS. You click on it, right click. You click on add, or you go to your right-hand side, top right, and you click on add. So both way, either ways, you're good. The top right add is your shortcut, but the right click also is where you can add it. Just click on it, add, you click on add, and I'm doing that right away. So this is what you have. It shows select EPS. It's asking me to select EPS, but I have my EPS already because I selected already. So I don't want to change it. I just click outside, right? Or if I want to change it, I come here. It will show me all the EPS I have in my database. If I drag down, you see a lot. I have a lot of EPSs in here. So it should show me, so I can go and navigate to my departments and what have you, to the one I want. So, but for if you have a database like my own, you wouldn't want to go through this. You will not want to go through this. So you first of all select the EPS you want to create your EPS on, and this is what you have. And I go straight to finish. I don't want to start going to these steps one after the other. But if I go to next, some of us want to see what is in next. Let's do next and see what is in there. You follow the prompt. You're seeing project ID, right? Project ID. Under project ID, you're seeing new Proj 53. That's what you have on my own. So you might see your own something different there, but something you see new Proj, something new project will come up, right? Then you see project name. Project name, that's project ID. Now, from our question, our project ID is P6 text. So this is where you type your P6 text. P6 text. Okay? Then our project name. Project name is construction program. You change this, highlight this, change it to construction program. Okay? Then I click on next. The value entered for prayer ID must be unique. Okay. So now what is telling me is that the system is reporting me. So usually I train students, so I've used this in the database. So I'm going to do something. So for you please retain your own. But for purposes of this class, I have to change mine so there are no two IDs that are the same. So I'm fine now, right? So there are no two IDs that are the same. Primavera will not accept it from you, except to change it, except you have it changed. So mine is now, mine is P6 text 0. I had to just make modify it so that it will accept it, because it's telling me there is a project with that ID already in the database. Then next, my project name is what? Construction program. And I click on next. You see your project plan starts, right? Project plan starts. Project plan starts. Our date is 1st December 2015. 1st December 2015. So I come to this icon and click. Project plan starts. That's where we are. And I said, so I'm taking it back again so I can show. So project starts and end dates. So you see project plan starts. So I click on this icon, just these 3 dots by the side. Click on it. And it can now take me to, I can now navigate to the project according to the question, 1st December 2015, right? So first, so I choose December, and this is 1st. Select. Okay. Must finish by date. This is your must finish by. I do what? I click on it because I don't have the date, but my question says 20th September 2016. 20th September 2016. So I go back to 20th September 2016. 20. Good. There you have it. Okay. So at this point, you can say finish. Finish. So construction program. So I have my project here now. Let me just make my unique so that I need to delete it. Okay. Now you have created your project. Bravo. Your project is created. But you know what? You have to open the project. You have to get your project open. And how do you do that? You right click. You right click and click open project. Open project. Good. So once you click on open project, it takes you straight to your activities window. Okay. I've clicked back on the project window so that I can finish up the other questions that are on still 1.1, question 1.1. Calendar. Your calendar, your project calendar. Okay. It's 5 days work week. 5 days work week. Five days work week. Then activity type is tax dependent. Your activity type is tax dependent. Now you've not created activities, so you might not be able to do all of that. You have not created your activities, so you won't be able to do most of these other things I'm calling calendar, activity type, duration type. Those ones, you can only create them when you have created activities. Remember, we have not created WBS, right? We have not created WBS and we have not created activities. So we're going to skip that point. We'll come back to it until when we have created the WBS. So the next thing we're going to do, remind me, we're coming back to from after defaults. That's where we're coming back to, but we'll need to progress. And we're going to create the following. We're going to create the WBS. Like I said, when you finish creating your projects, you go ahead and do what? You create your WBS. For me, I don't, the process, the method I'm showing you is for beginners. Ordinarily, I don't create my project. I don't go through all of that. I don't fix my end date. I don't fix my end date. That must finish, but I don't do that. It's like you're constraining your schedule and it's not right. It's not good to constrain your schedule. So, but for the purpose of training, that's why, and for beginners, it's good to have a pattern to it so that you don't lose the students. So that's why I'm going through all the steps the way I'm doing. Okay, so we want to create WBS. Remember I said, after you have created your project, you open your project. The next thing you do is what? So once I open my project, I'm seeing activities, but I don't want to start adding activities like this. I have to create WBS. And I do what? I click on WBS. I click on WBS. Good. So you see that if you did this along with me, right? If you did this along with me, you find out that this your project P6 test has moved to the WBS window. You created it in your project window, but it has moved to your WBS. It's appearing on the top, like that same envelope. So that project is connected. So by the time you create your WBS underneath it, it's connected to that project. Remember, I mentioned yesterday that you keep moving from one window to the other. That when you want to create project, you go to project window. You want to create WBS, you go to WBS window. When you want to create activity, you go to activities window. Now, our step right now is we're creating WBS. So that's our third step. That's our next step, creating WBS. Okay. The WBS, we have P6 test 1, P6 text 2, P6 text 3, and P6 text 4. That is project management, design and approval, construction, test and commission. So the way you're seeing that question, that is what you see when you're looking at your schedule as a network diagram. When you're looking at it in a network format, that is what you see. Okay, but now that's by the way. So, but now we want to create the WBS. So first I said you must select, there must be a root WBS. And your root WBS is construction program for NIQS training, right? Construction program for NIQS training. That's for me, but yours should be construction program. So I just did this for identification so I can clean up my database. Okay. Now I want to create project management. That is P6 text 1. Remember our WBS ID, our WBS code. WBS code is P6 text 1 for project management. P6 text 1 for project management. So how do I add? You just go to your plus sign at the top right-hand corner of your window, your WBS window, and you click on add. Add. Voila. There you have it. Okay. So, and I want to now put the name. What is the name? The name is P6 text 1. That's the WBS code. The WBS code is P6 text 1. Kinji. For those of us that understand Hausa. Okay, so that's it. So it must, even if I've imputed P6 text 1, it will show you that it is connected to the root. That's the project. So it must have the project ID as part of it. So what we are going to do, what we're going to do, just change this to 1, ordinary 1. Okay, just 0.1, finish. So this is 1. So the next one, our WBS name is project management. Project management. So on the WBS now, we want to create project management. This is project management. So I type project management in there. Project management. Easy. Easy. And the next one we're creating is the second WBS, and it is what? Design and approval. Design and approval. So I go ahead, I go back to this one. You can add it from anywhere. I can decide to add from here. Okay, if I add from here, I will now have to move left because they are all on the same level. I have to move left so that I can bring it to the same level. And I will now change these to 0.2. 0.2. Yawa. So this is 0.2, right? Then what is the project, the WBS name for 0.2 is what? Design and approval. Just type that. Design and approval. Okay, let me use exactly what we have in the question, on the question. Okay, design and approval. Right, the next one, add again, outdents or move left. Microsoft project will say outdents. Primavera will say move. Yeah, but they are saying the same thing. And this is what? 3.3. Okay. And here we have what? Construction. Construction. The next one, last but not the least, you move left again. And you have what? This is 0.4. Okay. And here I have what? I type in test and commission. Test and commission. Good. So, but you can, of course, naturally it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like that, and you can add that to it. But the message is, the simple message you should take is, it should be unique. There shouldn't be repetition, because you can't repeat 1, 1, 1, 2. And sometimes if you have a lot of WBSs, it might be confusing if you're not careful with the WBS codes. If you're not careful with the WBS codes, it might be challenging for you. Okay. So of course it's fine if you might decide to leave it, but it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It doesn't affect anything at all. Thanks, okay, Chuku. So any other question, any concern, any observation? We move. So we move on to what's the next. Can someone put in the question and in the chat section, tell us what we're supposed to do next? Let me be sure we're following. If you know what we need to do next after this, can you put that in the chat? Not Chijoki. Chijoki, I don't want you to put anything. So I won't proceed if I don't get that. I want someone to just try. Just try. Because if I don't get feedback, that means I've not done a good job. Or my students, I need to do more so that creates. Oh, fantastic. Chikwendos, thank you. Please, I don't know how you go to WBS. I just gained access to the meeting. Okay, I think okay, Akim Israeli. For us to take you, it's going to take all of us back, and that will not be good. So maybe you will not rely on the recording. My own ID number is not coming up serially. It's not coming up serially. So if yours is not coming, that's a Tijani. Just come up here and click on it. Your ID will arrange itself. Where you saw where I clicked on where you have the WBS code, just any space, like click on it. It's the same as sorting when you're sorting in a Excel or featuring in Excel. You just click there and it sorts it for you. So I know when you do that, it will solve your problem. Let me give us a story. So just for the lighter note, so that we've done a lot of work. So when I first joined, I started using Primavera because I was using Microsoft Project before I joined my current place of work, and I started using Primavera. Now I didn't know how to do this sorting. That thing messes up a lot of planners. So after I've developed my schedule, everything was all over the place because I didn't just this click, and I printed the schedule. I sent it to my bosses. They were supposed to send it to the decision review board for their meeting. I will go to my WBS. Everything is well arranged, but my activities are all over the place. And I didn't know what to do, So those days I didn't even have the grace. I didn't have so many colleagues that I could run to. So sometimes I will be quartered to disgrace. But I mean, so what you're seeing here is battle scars. I have a lot of battle scars from this. So I'll go home and start praying, God, please help me. And God will help me. In the night, maybe I will get revelation, do it this way, touch it this way. And that was because I was the only person in that department, and I was the only planner in the unit. So there was nobody to help me. My fellow quantity surveyors that I have, they are just on cost. So I was the only person doing schedules. So I couldn't run to anybody. But today is different. So don't worry. When you have battle scars, yes, it's part of the process. It's part of the process. If you don't fall, you will not learn. So that's it. So once you click on that, it will. But if it doesn't, please let me know, right? If it doesn't. Justice, thank you. Assign activities. So let's go back to class. We're going to assign activities. Enough of stories. We're going to assign activities, and we'll go to activities window. Activities window. So thank you for giving me that feedback. I think I'm happy with your responses. That means you're following. Okay. I click on my activity window. If you look at my screen, I'm sure you might not be seeing the same thing. Mine, there is nothing showing, but yours, you might be seeing your WBS. So let me bring out my own WBS. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me how I'm going to do that. Okay, so I have my WBS. Right? I have my WBS, mine. So you see my project management, design and approval, construction, test, and just name it, okay? Let me see if I can do something. So now I have project management, design and approval, construction, test, and commission. Let's go to the next question. Question 1.3. Add the following activities and milestones. Add the following activities and milestones. So before we start, I want to explain some things, okay? Before we start. Now, what is a milestone and how do we represent a milestone in Primavera? What is a milestone and how do we represent a milestone in Primavera? Now, a milestone is an activity that signifies the start or end of an event. It signifies the start, the beginning, or an end of an event. It is not an executable activity. That means it is not a task that you can execute. So that's why it doesn't accept a resource. So you see different characteristics of a milestone. So I didn't want to do too much talking on so that's why I didn't bother about slides today. I just want us to work. Okay, so you will be seeing that your milestone activity will not accept results. That's one of the characteristics, and it is depicted by 0 duration. If you see on the question, you see duration is 0 for that milestone activity. It said contract award, put as start milestone, and duration is what? 0. Then assign it to WBS test 1. That's P6 test point 1, right? So, and P6 test point 1 is what? Project management. Is what? Project management. So that's one thing with your, and these are your activity attributes. Yeah, your activity types. So let's create. So the first is milestone and the ID. You have your activity ID, your activity name, the original duration. So I don't need actuals. Let me take these ones out. Okay, I don't need actuals for this class. So I think I need calendar. I need calendar for this. My calendar general. Calendar. Okay. What else do I need? I think I'm fine. Start, finish. Predecessor and successor. I need my predecessor and successors. Now you might be wondering, what am I bringing out this stuff for? All these columns. So there's something, when I teach my students, I tell them that there's something we call schedule development layout and progress layout. In Primavera, you have different columns you'll be needing when you are developing your schedule. And you have the columns you'll be needing when you are progressing your schedule. So like when I'm developing my schedule, I shouldn't have a baseline. I shouldn't have an actual column because I don't have need for them at that point in time, right? I don't have any need for them at that point in time. I'm still developing, I'm still making my soup, right? I shouldn't be taking pictures when my ingredients are still scattered all over the place. Okay, so I shouldn't be relaxed. I have no need for actual columns. I have no need for baseline columns, but the columns that I need when I'm preparing the schedule, first, I need the ID, the activity ID. I need my activity name. I need my original duration, right? I need my start, that's my date fields, my start column, my finish column, my predecessor column, my successors column, and my calendar. Okay, so later we'll talk about resources when we get to that, God willing. Okay, so it is what it is. I'll click on apply, click OK, and we're fine. So now we can go. Now I want to create an activity so that, and the question says contract award. Your activity name is what? Contract award. So how do I create an activity? Remember, I must be on activities window. I must be on activities window. So I click on the WBS. The WBS it should be on is what? P6 test.1. And that is this. I click on add. So each window you are on, just make sure you want to add anything, go to your add button. So if you see you have add, you have delete. So someone was asking me, how do you delete WBS? So if yesterday, someone asked that question. So if you want to delete this WBS, so you just click on this while it goes. That's how to delete. So you have all those keys active. You want to cut, you want to copy, you want to paste. You paste, your paste comes active when you copy already. Once you've copied or you've cut, then it comes up, your paste, but this is your paste icon. So let's go back to our WBS. I just remember that question, so I needed to respond to it. So I want to create my activity. So I click on this and add. So my own came out once. Your own might not come out once. A wizard may come out. That is like a prompt. So let's try with CJ. Do you have your listen? Let me allow you to share at this point, so that, because I know that DS will not. I know I did something to my own. I did something because I don't like anything that wastes my time. So I removed some things. So let me show them on yours, so that they will not be expecting to see this. So quickly share your screen. I'll stop sharing now, but you will now grant me. So once you're sharing, you grant me access so I can demonstrate, and it's an opportunity for me to now repeat the WBS that we did. Okay, so this is done, and I want to add WBS to it. No, sorry, project. I'll create a project first. And the project is, our project is construction program. So I've selected the EPS, I'm not going to change it. My project ID is P6 steps. Network warriors is slow. Then here we have construction project. We have a construction project. I'll be a bit fast here because we've passed all of this, so I won't even waste much time. We said our start date, December 15. December 1st. And must finish by 20th September 2016. 20th September 2016. Okay. And so for those of us that missed it, I think this is an opportunity for you, because I'm trying to get a Chijuke system to where we'll be needing it. So I don't have need for all of this for now. Finish, right? So you see my project created already. So I now want to, I say you open the project. So after you've created the project, you do what? You open. So I right click, open project. And that's done. I'm going to create WBS. And I created, so I said I must have this on 1, 2, 3, 4. So my WBSs are created. This is one.
QS Sarah, if repeating this process will take your time, maybe you can also actually export out from your end, send to me, and then when you import it.
Exporting will take you more time.
All right then.
It will take you. You don't want to go there at all. At all. You don't want to go there. To export will not take time, but to import takes time, especially when your network is not fast. Although I know that the project we have is small. What did I do? I got something wrong here. How come I'm not seeing the screen anymore? Can you help me from your end? I don't, this is your screen. Okay, I think I'm fine. Good. So it's just an advantage. The people that missed this part, they prayed very hard, and God answered their prayers. Okay, so the WBS is created. I don't want the system to be delaying us for that. What I want to show you is how to create your activities. So I'll go back to activities window. Okay, go back to activities window, and my WBSs are open. My WBSs are open. So I click on the WBS. I now add activity. This one is like that. So his one is like that. Okay. So ordinarily, when we created a project, so you can stop sharing. Yours is the same. So it's the same time. So what you've done is to uncheck. You've unchecked the prompt coming up, so it won't show anymore. So, but for you guys that still have, because you newly installed your Primavera P6, by the time you want to add activity, you will see a tax wizard, a help wizard that will pop up, and it will be guiding you. Oh, put your ID here, put this one here. So if you have a lot of activities, that is a waste of time. So that's why we uncheck that, so it doesn't pop up anymore. So we can't use that pop-up. But for you, it's not a problem. You can follow the prompts. But for these ones, I thought his own has it, but it doesn't have it too. So he has unchecked his own as well. So you can stop sharing. Thank you. Yeah. So let me go back and share. So I need to release control. Okay. So this is the activity. And I was talking about milestone. So that was why I was in a hurry to create an activity, because I needed us to see what a milestone is. He said milestones have zero duration. Milestones have zero duration. And milestones in Primavera, first of all, I said it has zero duration. One of the characteristics is that it has zero duration. Secondly, is that it doesn't have 2 dates. Each activity will have a start date and an end date. But for a milestone, it will either have a start date or an end date or finish date. It will not have both. That's how you get to know that this is a milestone activity on a Primavera sheet. So if someone sends you a PDF schedule and you're seeing some activities that has only a start date, please don't panic. Those activities are milestones. So sometimes they appear on the top corner of your schedule. So you want to outline all the key milestones first before you can now start detailing the activity. Something like award dates. Yeah. mobilization date, the date you're mobilizing to site. So those are key milestone dates. So I was trying to explain what a milestone is. So when you drop down on the activity type, so you go to general, drop down on your activity type. Remember, your activity is highlighted. I want to change this now to a milestone, because we said the activity type should be what? A milestone from our question. That's question 1.3. That was where we were, 1.3. It should be a milestone, right? So we're changing it to, and it is what? A start milestone. So if you drop down here, you see a lot of activity types, the different activity types that we have. We have finish milestone, level of effort, resource dependent, start milestone, task dependent, WBS summary, right? So that's what we have here. And we're going to do what? This activity says it is what? A start milestone. So we select start milestone. So remember I told you that your milestone, so you see that finish date disappeared. If it's a start milestone, it will have only a start date. If it's a finish milestone, it will have only a finish date. So if I change this activity back, this activity type now, back to task dependent, you see that the finish date will appear. But once I take it now back to start milestone, like the question instructed, you see that your finish date disappears. So that's how you get to know your start milestone. So it can either be a start milestone or a finish milestone. So that's we've created. So the activity ID is what? 100. So you come here and you change it. 100. Okay, done. Do we have any other? Said we should assign it to project management, which you have done. We said it should be 0 duration, which we have there. So what else did it say? Okay, so let me change my own dates. I don't want my date to be different from yours. Don't worry, let me change my date. My project start dates. Don't want my, okay, yeah, I have it. The data dates. Yeah, okay, so it's same first. So I want us to be on the same page so that's at the same pace. Good. So super. So that's where we are. So we have created the first one. So the second activity we need to add is still under the WBS is P6 text 1, and it's the activity name is system definition. So let's do that. Add again. The ID is what? 200. 200. Oh, sorry, I haven't typed. Contract award is the first one. Contract award. The 100 is contract award. The second one is system definition. System definition. Okay? System definition. And what did it say? It should have 40. The duration is what? 40 days. So under duration, just double click, type 40. Then, so that's that. Okay. Then the next activity 300 is what? Detailed design. So you create it, and where should it be? It should be under P6 text 2. P6 text 2 is what? Design and approval. So you create your activity, highlight the WBS and add. Okay. And this is what 300. 300. The activity name is detailed design. Detailed design. So what we are doing, we are both interpreting the question and developing the schedule according to what the question says. So in case maybe you go for an interview, or you even want to interview a planner or a project controls person, those are the type of, this will help you know the mastery, the level of the candidate. So, and it will help you to prepare, to help you to just annex the whole, at least the main keys that the students or the candidates need to know. Okay. So detailed design, that's where we are. Detailed design, and duration is what? 40. Okay. Then the next is procurement. No, sorry. 4. That's design compliance. Design compliance. And also it should be under P6 Test 2, which is the same thing as design and approval. The next one, procurement, under 2 as well. So I change. So this is design compliance. After detailed design, we have design compliance, design compliance, right? The next one is what? Procurement. Procurement. Okay. The next one is construction. Remember the ID. What is the ID for design and compliance? The ID for design and compliance is 400. The ID for procurement is 500. To tell you what, the advice I need to give us at this point is that anything in the planning world, the watchword is to keep it simple. Keep it simple. Start from first principle. When it becomes complex, try to keep it simple. When you have so many activities, try to keep it simple so that you don't get confused. So that's the watchword. Make sure you don't make the thing complex. It shouldn't be complex. Nobody claps for you because you use the most difficult method. Just make it as simple as you can. It will help you to make the work easier for you. Okay, the next activity is activity 600. And the WBS to assign it to is P6 Test 3, which is construction. And the activity name is construction. So we're going to click on construction at WBS and we add. Our activity ID is 600. Our activity name is construction. Our activity duration is 80. Now, I did not include the duration for, okay, 80. Let me see, did I miss out? Oops. The duration for design compliance is 30. Duration for procurement is what? 30. Good. Done. Then, so let's go back to where we are, 600. Commissioning. So the next is commissioning and handover. The activity is activity ID 700 and it's under P6 Test 4. That's text and commission. So I add my activity there. I change the ID number to 700. Okay. And I do what? I type in the activity name, which is commissioning and handover. commissioning, and hand over. Okay. Hand over. So the next is project completion. Put as finish milestone. Project completion. Put as finish milestone. And it should be under WBS 4. WBS for P6 test 4. And the activity ID is 800. So I'm going to go ahead and create this activity, but it's going to be a finish milestone. And I'm changing the ID to 800 according to the question. My activity description or activity name is project completion, right? And it's going to be a milestone. So from the principle of milestones, how the behavior of milestones, we said this a milestone, we have only one date. So right now it's not a milestone, but we're going to change it to become a milestone. And we do that by changing the activity type to finish milestone. Let me take this one slowly. Let me take it slowly. I start again, just like we did when we commenced. We started with a start milestone, which was activity ID 100. And now we are ending with activity ID 800, which is also a milestone. The difference between the two of them is that the first activity is a start milestone, while this last activity is what? A finish milestone. Is a finish milestone. So we're going to click on it for us to change it to a finish milestone, because what we are seeing here is an activity. We said that milestones have only one date, either a start date or a finish date. It doesn't have two dates. That's the guy. But that's different in projects. In Microsoft projects, a milestone is represented as 0 duration, it ends there, but it will have start and finish date. If you assign resource to it, it will carry it. So those are the lapses, the loopholes in Microsoft project. But in Primavera, it's not the way it is, right? In Primavera, you can't assign resource to a milestone, so long as you have identified it and you have imputed the activity as a milestone. You have changed activity type to either a start or a finish milestone. That milestone, it will now behave. It will do the work of a milestone on that schedule. So let's do that. So before I do, let me see if there are questions that we are yet to address. Okay, so we have some students that are having challenges with showing their activities. Now, there is a filter that is active on your screen. That is why it's not showing. There is a filter that is active. Your layout, I don't know if they will be able to share screen. Maybe you would have been able to address the person, because the person's problem is localized. Yeah, the person's question is localized. So someone said, oh, it's only project window I can see. So such person, but once we address Oluwafemi, even Ibemi Moses will be addressed as well. Okay, so we're at the verge of, now I want us so for him, if he should come here, group and sorts. There's something we call group and sorts. So what I did to bring out mine was to just come. This place was blank the previous time. I just typed my WBS and brought out WBS because WBS was not showing. Usually I use activity codes for my planning. I don't use WBS. So WBS wasn't showing. I needed to bring it out to show my work breakdown structures. Okay, so that's why. So as soon as I brought it out, I typed here WBS, clicked on my WBS, and voila. it's showing. Okay. Then you have hide if empty. That's another thing. So hide if empty. If it is checked under your group and sort, you can take a snapshot of this with your phone or wherever. So just mark where I'm showing. If you have hide if empty, you will not see. If I hide this now, if I have okay, so if I have a WBS that does not have an activity on it, right? If I have a WBS that does not have an activity on it, it will hide. So let me give us an example. I want to create one WBS here. I'll later delete it. So let me say I've added this WBS. Okay, and I name it test. I'll come back to my activities window. It's supposed to show automatically. And I'm seeing it, right? It's here. Because on my group and sort prompt, I did not say hide. I did not, so I said hide if empty. So if I click hide if empty, apply, you won't see that anymore. That the last listen that I created will not show anymore because the last WBS I created will no longer show. So because I have hide if empty, that means the command is saying, if the WBS is empty, please hide it. I don't want to see it. If this WBS does not have an activity, does not have a milestone, please, I don't want to see. That's what the command says. So if you have not created an activity and you have this command like this, you will not see anything. That's it. And if this place, right, you will not see WBS. The WBS will disappear. So those are the two things that the young one that refused to share, those are the two things he needs to do to join us. So I bring back my WBS and I refuse to check hide if empty. I say apply and I'm fine. I can decide to check this. Maybe I say display at level 1. I'm good. Okay. So we're back to where we are. I'm deleting this because I just used this to narrate. So I'm deleting the WBS. Are you sure you want to delete selected WBS? I said yes. This cannot be undone. I want it deleted. I don't have need for it. Okay, so we're back to our activities. So we're at the verge of assigning, changing this activity to a milestone. And what do? You go to your general, remember, that's under your activity detail, like I mentioned that as you're in your activity window, the bottom is activity detail. And in your activity detail, you have, because as time goes on, you might be hearing me say activity detail. I won't be saying bottom anymore. So know that is your activity detail I'm referring to. So under your activity detail, you have general. And under general, you go to activity type. Under activity type, you drop down. Remember, you have highlighted the activity you want to change the activity type. And you're changing it to what? Finish milestone. You're changing it to what? Finish milestone. Boom. You see, your start date has disappeared. Your start date has disappeared. So we are done with question 1.3. We're done with question 1.3. So we're going to question 1.4. Question 1.4. We're going to question 1.4. So, did we all understand how I brought out these columns, please? I want reactions. Did you understand how I brought out these columns? I'll show us again. For columns, that I went to columns So you see the sign, the column sign here. Okay, I drop down on it and it takes me to the column wizard. It takes me to the column wizard. And if I don't know what I'm looking for, I don't know where it is, because I could easily go to dates. Because I'm looking for a start date, I can go to dates. I'm looking for duration. You can't just come and create by yourself. No, they are fields already that are created already in Primavera. Yeah, they are default fields that has come with Primavera. So I create dates fields. So if I want start dates, just by default know that, oh, it will be warehouse under dates. If I want duration, know that it will be warehouse under duration. Yeah. Then others you might not know, like percentage complete. No, it will be warehouse, like that physical percentage complete, it will be warehouse here. However, what if you don't even know this? So for you to search for any column, you just come to available options here, click on it and click on find. So type whatever you want. So here you can now search. Maybe I want to see, let's say, actual start. So remember, that's a date field, right? I just type the first word, actual. I go to the next. It's not. So I can now decide, okay, I want to add start. Actual start. Okay. You see, it has taken me straight directly to my actual start. So I can easily now move it out, add to list. So if you want to take anything back, this add to list. I want to arrange it where it should be, I take it down. But if I want to now send it back, I don't have need for it. You see, once I send this back, it will go to where it belongs, the dates fields. Exactly, it has gone back. So that's how you manage and bring out different columns. The columns you need, predecessor, successor, the same thing. Predecessor and successor, just, I don't know. I don't want to start wasting my time. Click on find, click your column, click on available options, click on find, voila, type whatever field you think you want and search, and it will take you to the field and you now bring it out. Then if I want to edit, if you see one of the names I have here is edited, the original duration. So if I want to edit any name, I want to put the name that suits me, right? I want to put the name that I feel should be there and not what Primavera has configured for me. I put that, I just click on edit column, right? Edit column. So this one now, you now put your new name. This is the default name that came with Primavera. This is your new name. You see, I have this original duration because I wanted my columns to be smaller. So I didn't want it to be too large. So I had to shorten the duration, the name I wanted, so that by the time I collapse my fields, it won't be too wide and it will take less, because I want to see more of my Gantt than my activity table by the time I print. So that's also, I was just managing space there. So you see the width, your alignment, either you want the name to be centered, you want it to be on the right, yeah, you want it to be on the left, you want it to be at the center, what have you, then you just say okay. So that's how to change name and all of that on this. So I won't be dwelling so much on it because we don't have much time. I'll be dwelling much on the recruits of the master. These ones are just these ones are just formatting issues. Those ones are not the main thing. What we're doing now is the main thing, following these questions. So we're going to look at relationship. So my original duration, I altered my start date. Yes, okay. How did you pick successor from the column? So that was what I just demonstrated. So if you go to list, though you go to list, you will find it there. But if you don't know, Someone like me, because I've been using it for some time, it's easy for me to know where it is. But if you don't know, right, you just come here, click on a list. You see your successors. So if I take this successor, because I still have them here, predecessor and successor, it goes back to list. So I want to bring them out. Successor is out. My predecessor, I bring it out as well, right? But if I don't know, so I'm taking the two back now. I don't know. I just come here and say find, and I type successor, okay? And click on find. It takes me straight to successors, right? And I just click on add to list. Add to list. So why you don't use this one that is double, that is add all, it's going to carry everything and bring it out for you. So, but if you're bringing out one column, you have to use the single arrow, not the double-headed arrow, please. You see, I'm careful with that. Not the double-headed arrows, the single arrow you use in bringing the columns one after the other. If you click on this, it's going to carry things you did not select out for you, and you'll be finding it difficult to clean up. Okay? Okay, so we'll go ahead. Now we have outlined our activities. Okay? Our activities are well outlined. Now let's go to the crux of the matter. A schedule, remember we say a schedule, we call it a schedule because it's sequenced. It shows us the hierarchical distribution of activities and when each will be done and the relationship. So that's what makes it a schedule. Else you can populate it on Excel and it's a list. What we have done here is just to list out activities under a WBS or a title. So what makes it a schedule is the relationship, the link that creating it as a web. And one good characteristics of a good schedule is that it must not have an open end. What do I mean? It must be a complete loop. A complete loop. Those of us that have interfaced with electrical engineers, you know that when they are doing electrical connection, right? It's usually a complete loop. A complete loop. It's not series. It's not series connection. It's usually a looped connection, right? Yeah, it's usually looped. So your schedule must be looped. That means it's only two open ends that it is permitted to have. It is permitted to have only two open ends. Please, let's take note of this. That's one of the good qualities of a good schedule, is that it must have just two open ends. That is, the first activity will not have a predecessor. The first activity, in this case, our first activity is activity 100. That is contract award, is our first activity. It will not have a predecessor, right? Then the last activity will not have a successor. The last activity will not have a successor. Okay? The first activity will not have a predecessor. The last activity will not have a successor. Why? Because your first activity is the first. There is no activity before it. So there is nothing preceding it. Predecessor, preceding. Activity that will come before it. There is no activity coming before contract award. Then for project completion, right? Your project completion, there is no activity after it. When you've completed a project, what else are you doing? Nothing. You're done with it. So that is the story behind it. So for every other activity in between must have a predecessor and a successor, even if it's a milestone. Even if it's a milestone, so long as it's not the first activity, whether milestone, whatever, in any form, so long as it's not the first and it's not the last, it must have a predecessor and a successor. Else, if you have an open end on your schedule, the quality of your reports will be impacted. The quality of your reports will be impacted. So garbage in is equal to garbage out. That was the story I was telling us yesterday. Garbage in is equal to garbage out. If you don't get it right at the stage of developing the schedule, then when it comes to progressing, monitoring and control, you struggle because your reports will not be telling the truth. Your reports will not be telling, you will not find yourself trying to make up values and try to work the schedule manually when the schedule is supposed to just flow naturally, right? It's supposed to flow with the sequence and it should be predictive enough. The Primavera is a predictive tool that can tell you, and its predictability is dependent on whatever quality of data that you've imputed into the system, into the schedule. So your schedule should be predictive enough. And what can alter that predictability is the quality of your schedule, the quality of your input. How did you link it? How did you resource load? And all of that. So this is one major thing that can impact the quality of your schedule if you leave open ends. So if someone sends you a P6 schedule, usually for me, I don't accept PDF from contractors. I don't accept PDF. So and contractually, you send me a Primavera level 4 schedule I'll tell you the details I want on the schedule. So when you send me a schedule, I'll import the schedule. The first thing I check is to open your predecessor and successor column to check for open ends. So when you are reviewing your schedule, you're doing schedule assurance. Those are the things, or audit. Those are the things you look out for. So I won't overflow it. I've said it enough because it's very important. Your schedule must not have open ends. Okay, let's go. Activity ID 100. Predecessor is blank. Successor is 200 SS. Lag, there is no lag. There is no lag. Now, what is a lag? What is a lag? What is a lag? A lag is the number of days, the duration that an activity can be delayed before it can start. Yeah, with reference to its predecessor or successor. With reference to, we'll see the application here, but it's just delayed start. Simply put, delayed start or delayed finish. Simply put, in respect to its predecessor or successor. So you can say two activities. So before I talk about relationship, I want to tell us the relationship types for some of us that are not, especially for students. The 4 relationship types that we have in Primavera, in project management, so to speak. It's not only used in Primavera, right? It's not only used, it's used in most of the scheduling tools because it is not a tool thing. Those acronyms are project management acronyms. Okay. We have what we call finish to start. Finish to start. We have what we call finish to start, FS. Because on the question, you'll be seeing 200 SS, 300 SS, 400 SS, 500 SS. You understand? 300 FS. So what is FS? What is SS? What is SF? What is FF? So there are four relationship types that we normally use. FS, which is finish to start. Finish to start. Finish to start. I will explain what they mean. Then FF, finish to finish. FF means finish, literally. That's a literal word, is finish to finish. So the FS is just an acronym, but it's a universally accepted acronym. Then SS, which is start to start, start to start, start to start. Then SF, start to finish, start to finish. Now, once you hear FS, FF, and all of that, just what should come to your mind is predecessor and successor. Predecessor and successor. So you now start relating why I brought up predecessor column and successor column. Predecessor's column and successor column. So there are two ways. So first of all, what is your predecessor? Your predecessor is the activity that will happen. Maybe you have two activities. You have activity A and you have activity B. Now, activity A is a predecessor to activity B, right? Activity A is a predecessor to activity B. In this case now, activity 100 is a predecessor to activity 200. While activity B is successor to activity A. Activity B is successor to activity A. That means A must finish before B starts, or they have that finish to start, start to start relationship. Okay. So I've described what predecessor means and what successor means. So, and finish to start. Finish to start relationship is that activity A must finish before activity B. That means activity 100 must finish. It must start and finish before activity 200 will start. That is finish to start. If I want to use a finish to start relationship for them. We also call it mandatory relationship. Mandatory relationship. Some call it rigid relationship. Yeah, because it must happen that way. So, example, a typical example for us in the built environment, environment is that you have your foundation, right? You have your superstructure. Your superstructure must complete before your substructure for one building, before your substructure will commence, right? Your superstructure will be completed before your substructure will be completed before your superstructure will commence. Like, okay, let's say your excavation, trench excavation, your trench excavation must be completed before you do blinding, before you blind the foundation, before you can put in your starters, your runners, yeah, your column starters, your starter bars. You have to finish with your excavation, you level and compact, you put your column basket, you blind first, then before you now put your starter bars and column basket in there. So they have finish to start relationship. If you are to write QS and you want to prepare a schedule based on that, the first thing you have to say, strip excavation. You now say, okay, remove topsoil 150 mm. So of course you do site clearance first. When you're done with clearing of your sites, right? You do what's next. You remove topsoil. Then you can now put your profile. You must have marked the building, pegged the building, put in your profiles. Then you start excavating. Okay, you start your excavation, all the trenches. When the excavation is done, as you're excavating, you need to put your earthwork support where necessary for those in the riverine area, those of us in this part of the world. So sometimes you need the watering machine to remove water from the trenches as you excavate. Then you now blind before you put your starter bars. So they have mandatory dependencies. So that's what I'm trying to explain. I don't need to tell us the steps of this, not a taking off class. But so I'm just trying to explain. Yeah, I'm just trying to explain what mandatory dependency means. So where do we use? So that was what I was talking about construction technology yesterday. Because if you don't understand how this is done, you will not be able to link your activity. So you need to understand the sequence. That's all I'm trying to explain. You need to understand the sequence, how these jobs are done. But in a place where, I don't know, like where I work, I have do a lot of mechanical work. Yeah, do a lot of mechanical maintenance, turbines, pipe pressure, and all of that. Okay. I don't know all of this. Like when I joined the team, it was really very odd. So I'm coming from the built environment, construction. So I understand what happens in that space. But this was very new. And this is maintenance. It's not even construction. This is maintenance. So you need to understand how these equipments run. But there are some persons that are supervisors that are SMEs in that field. So what I do is, it is my job to develop the schedule. I am accountable to developing the schedule, but they are responsible. Anything that, I'm responsible, it's my responsibility. I'm responsible to develop the schedule, it's my responsibility, but they are accountable to the content of the schedule. Whatever I put in that schedule, they should account for it. If I say you're going to do this job for 40 hours, when the project manager is asking, will not ask, oh, Sarah, why did you not do this job in 40 hours? No, it is you that is doing the job that they were asked. So that is why you have to tell me, this is how long it's going to take me in places where there are no norms. This is how it's going to take me from your expert judgments. This is the makeup of my team. This is how I want. So that SME will give you the breakdown of those activities. The SME will give you the breakdown of those activities. Of course, with time, after some years, you keep doing the same thing. You become an SME yourself, right? But for that time, you need to now have good relationship with those people, and they'll give you the breakdown of how things run, and you make them to sign off after developing your schedule. So you should be calm enough to sit them down and ask them, because they are always in a hurry to find out, oh, after this job, which next again? Now this one, okay. After this one, now you come to this one. And two of them, they're not going to happen together at the same time. No, they will fit. You know, that's what you do. You make sure they'll give you the relationship. They don't know planning. You are the one that will ask them the questions, because you know what you want to achieve. They will now supply you that information. But if it's a building project, if it's anything construction, you are good to go. You know the sequence. But you also need to, even when you know the sequence, you need to validate from the person executing it. Because I know the sequence does not mean the man will read my mind and he has his strategy. If he doesn't buy my strategy, he will be doing something else outside, and my schedule will be garbage. My schedule will be garbage to just sit with me, because the schedule will be going this way, the team will be going the other way. And the team and the schedule are supposed to go the same way. The schedule is supposed to be the compass that will lead the team. But if the team does not sign off on your schedule, they don't agree, they will leave it is your schedule, it's not the team schedule anymore. So you need to get their buy-in. You have SMEs where you are for other things you don't know about that you need to harness together. So usually in big establishments and for big projects, before you develop schedule, you have what we call schedule development kickoff meeting. You have a kickoff meeting where you bring in all the discipline leads. All the discipline leads, they will come together and you all will develop the schedule in that workshop. That is how schedules are developed in that workshop. It's not a one-man thing, because a one-man has only one discipline, but a schedule is a multidisciplinary document. So you have this discipline, and they are all putting all that into your schedule, right? Okay, that said, now let's go on and work. So I've explained finish to start. Finish is that both activities will finish the same time. They might not start, that's activity 100 and 200. They may not start the same time, but they'll finish the same time. Then for SS, that start, both of them will start at the same time. They'll start at the same time, that's SS. Then SF is that the activity A will start before activity B will finish. Activity A will start before activity B will finish. So that's the very simple explanation of what that connotes. Now let's link our activity. We said activity 100, the successor is 200 SS. Now, if you check my screen, under my activity details, you see that my activity detail is split into two. If your own is not showing, this is how to bring out your relationship. If you click on this empty space here, I hope you can see my screen. Right click, customize activity details. So mine is out already because I use it often. Yeah. So you can do, this is WBS, this is, so the same way you brought out columns, it's similar. So I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this. Okay. Okay. So this is how you bring out your predecessors, your successors. Now, why do I prefer to use relationship? I can put only successor, a predecessor, right? So I can bring out only predecessor. You see, that's only predecessor that is showing. I hope I'm not obstructing anybody. Okay, you see that it's only predecessor that is showing here. I can bring out successor. You see, it's only successor that is showing. But once I click on relationship, I'm seeing both. So that whatever is happening to the right-hand side and left-hand side, I'm seeing it at once. So this makes it easier at a glance. It will save me time from going to successor, predecessor. No, everything is out here. So that's why it's advisable to use relationships when you are linking. And as you add them from here, you'll be seeing them here. They will be displaying here. So you can as well add here from here, right? You can as well add directly from here. You can also, that's on activity. You can also add directly from here, but you can also assign your relationship here. That's in the activity details. So let's move. We said activity 100. It has 0 predecessor, but the successor is 200 SS. Okay, successor, this is successor, right? This is successors. So I say assign. And it brings out all the IDs, all the activities I have on the project. And I want to put, it's 200 SS, 200. So I click on 200 and select assign, right? Good. Assign. So that is done. But the question says SS, that is start. You see here, this is relationship. This is what? Relationship type. That is this. So I'll click on it. Default is finish start. That's FS. That's the default. But my question says start. So I click on start. Voila, it has changed. So you see that predecessor has come up for that activity. It has a predecessor. You did not put predecessor, but because by reason that you have assigned successor to it, the predecessor has come out. So that's why you need to bring out these two, so you'll be seeing the behavior. Remember, our question says this activity 100 does not have a predecessor. Activity 100 does not have a predecessor. Okay. Now we move to the next activity, activity 200. Activity 200. Activity 200. Activity 200, the question says it has 300 start and 20 as lag, 20 days as lag. 300 start, SS, start. So you move to successor as well. Click on assign. Activity 300, right? Assign. Okay. Now you come to relationship type. It is what? Start to start. Good. So you have done that and you close. The next question is 200 as well. Activity ID 200. It has 400 start to start. So the same 200, you stay on the same 200, go to successor, assign. It says assign what? 400. Click on activity 400, assign, and it says the relationship is what? Start to start. Am I correct? Yes. Start to start with. Now, these ones that has lag, sorry. The first one has lag of 20 days. So this is your lag, 20. Then this one, activity 400, your lag is what? 30. The same activity 200, finish to start, that's successor 2, you come to successor, you assign, come to successor, the successor is what? 500. 500, assign, and it is finished to start. So there is no lag for that one. So you might ask, can one activity have so many relationships? The answer is yes. It can have so many relationships. So we are seeing it here. It might be linked to A, it might be linked to B, C, D. It can have so many relationships. So long as the execution strategy, the engineering sequence is correct. Yeah, the engineering sequence and the workability sequence is correct. So it can have. Okay, so this is where we'll stop. I want us to try our hands on completing the relationship. So from 600 to the last. Yeah. So let's see if we have challenge, then we can bring it up tomorrow. So, but before then, let me see the question. Let me check the chat and see if anybody. Okay, I've talked about the duration. Mine is not showing relationship. Why? Yours is not showing relationship. Okay, so I said something about relation. Charles. So look at this. I'm going to walk you through it again. See why I clicked just this empty space here. So I'm sure you can see my screen, Charles. Okay, so I right-clicked and I brought out customized activity details. Okay, customized activity details. So I clicked on it, and that was where I brought out relationships. So if you check here, your available tabs, you see relationships there. Right? Click on it, just highlight it, and with your add to list button, you add it. Click on apply. Okay, so once you get here, you click on it and it will show you relationships. Okay, so just try it again. I'm very sure that this time around, it won't be an issue. So I said something about the predecessor and successor, and I said your predecessor is your activity that comes before, and your successor is the one that comes after it. So we are following the question, but apart from this question, I think this question is complex. The question is complex. Ordinarily, for saying, oh, we want to create a schedule with a substructure. We just want to create activities for construction of a substructure of a building, right? What do? We now start listing out the activities that needs to, and they are finished to start, okay? Finished to start one after the other, and we can start linking it. So, but this question understands that, oh, no, you might not know the sequence. So that's why I'm saying it. Like if a mechanical engineer or whatever SM is sending you the schedule, that is the format the person should send it to you. The way the table is, this one comes before this one comes before this one comes before this, and or the person sits by you and starts telling you, then you will now implement. That's the way it works. But so I repeat again, I said the first question, the question says the successor is 200 start. And that was why. So I'm going to remove, okay, let me start the one that I was giving us as assignment. Let me use those ones now. So by the time, before I finish to the end, you would have, so I wanted us to try our hands on it, but not a problem. I will complete it so that you will understand, right? Activity 600. This is activity 600. The question says, the predecessor is 300 FS. Remember, we've been doing successor. Now we want to come to predecessor. The question says predecessor. So you first of all highlight on the activity. You click on assign. You see my mouse is on assign. I click on assign, right? I hope we are following, because you need to get this. This is very important. Click on assign, right? And the question, it says 300 finish to start. This is activity 300. Select it, assign it. And it is finish to start, so there is no lag. You're fine. The next question is the same activity 600. The same activity 600. You highlight it. It says it should be 400 finish to start. So I come to this place, see 400 finish to start. I assign. Okay? You see the second one comes here. Finish to start. My relationship type is FS. No problem. The same activity 600, it has 500 finish to start. So I click on 500, which is procurement. I assign it. Finish to start is default already, so I will not change it. I'm fine. The same activity 600, successor this time, not predecessor. Remember, we've been dealing with predecessor. Now it says successor for activity 600. So I move to successor. Okay, the successor is 700 finish to start. So I click on assign. Where is 700? This is it. I assign. And it's what? Finish to start. Then activity 700. I close this. Activity 700. The successor is 800 finish. The successor is 800 finish. The successor is activity 800 finish. And what do I do? Successor 800. So sorry, the activity we're supposed to highlight is 700. Sorry, because an activity cannot be predecessor or successor to itself. If we have clicked on that, it will bounce us. Yeah. So 700 assign plus its successor. 800 is the successor according to the question, and it's finish to finish. Finish to finish. Okay. So you come here, drop down, because we have finished start as a default. Drop down here and pick FF. Finish to finish. Voila, our schedule is done. So here now I can, right? But I think I've done justice to all the questions in the Q&A section. I've done a little bit of justice to them. So we have our schedule done. So the schedule we have now is a schedule without resource. So tomorrow we continue with, we'll do a little bit of recap and continue with our questions. So we'll continue with, so we did question 1.1 to 1.4. So we'll start with 1.5 tomorrow. So at this point, I yield the floor to the organizers. Thank you, guys.
Wow. Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful and interesting coaching, I would call it, this time around, because you practically walked us through the whole process. Thank you. We appreciate you. Before we let you go tonight, I would like you to clarify one thing, and then also to make sure that everybody will continue from the same point where you're leaving off today. I will also request for a second thing. But the one thing I'm asking for you to clarify more is to explain to them that sometimes you might have this thing that is called negative lag or positive lag. I know under Microsoft projects, they call it lag and lead. But in Primavera, they have just one terminology for that, which is lag. But sometimes you can actually use a negative lag to, reposition it as particularly where you want. So if you can add more explanations on that regard, so that maybe eventually when they encounter such in their work, it will not throw them off balance. Then secondly, I wish to request that maybe you export out this file, this project which you have, so that we'll share it among ourselves, and everybody will now import it and follow through from this very point where you're leaving off. That way you can be sure that we'll be continuing tomorrow from where you have left us today. Those are my two contributions now. Thank you.
Thanks, DJ. Does any other person have another question before I can respond to that? For leads and lag, right? Like you rightly said, it's lags and leads. Like you rightly mentioned in Microsoft project and in Primavera, you have negative lag. So you can come here, if I want the date earlier, right? I can decide to put -1. My -1 means that this date will come earlier. So if you see, this is supposed to be finish. Finish was 29th April. But as soon as I change it to -1, that's negative lag. It changes it to 28. So sometimes you want to bring to force some dates to come back by themselves. But it's not a good practice. I discourage students from doing that, especially negative. You can use positive lag, but negative lag, because at the end, it will haunt you when you're progressing your schedule. If you have a lot of negative lags on your schedule, right, you will have negative total float in the end. And once you have a negative total float, your schedule, what it means is that your schedule is already in the label before you start. Your critical part is no longer 0. What it means is that your critical part is already a minus. So instead, find a way to break down that activity to make sure that's why I say keep it simple. Don't make your schedule complicated. Find a way to make sure that it follows the flow, the sequence the natural sequence. Just like when you have water flowing through its course, flowing through a drain that has steep slope. That's how your schedule should be built. So don't complicate it with negative flows. Positive lag is fine, right? Don't complicate it with negative lag. Positive lag is fine, but negative lag is not welcome. And you shouldn't use so much of it. If you put your schedule, I don't want to go too high. If you put your schedule through Acumen Fuse for testing or any quality software to check your, we have Primavera risk management. So when you put that in to show how risky, how accurate, ZP10, ZP50, ZP90 that you have, how accurate is your plan? Then you see that because of your negative float, your schedule will be showing that your schedule quality, the results will be showing that your schedule quality is low. Yeah. So as much as it lies in your power, don't desist from using it. Some persons, you see them, they'll put, finish to start, then they'll start using negative because they are force-fitting dates. It's only when you are force-fitting dates that you start using those minus but if you're not doing that, your job should follow the right sequence. So that's what I have to say. But you can do that. Sometimes you can, but it shouldn't be much. It shouldn't be much so that you don't end up having a negative float on your schedule that you've not started progressing. You start having negative float. So it means your schedule is super critical. Your project is super critical, and everybody will be on their 10 toes. There is no time to relax. That's the indication on your schedule. Okay, then for exports, CJ, I think I have your email address, but can you do me the favor of sending it to me again? Okay, if I'm not able to send it tonight, I'll do that first thing in the morning as soon as I show up at work, right?
All right.
So that you can send it to them. But I'll try to export it now so I can send you the exact file.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right.
Wow, thank you so very much. The feedback yesterday was overwhelming, and I'm sure the feedback today would be even more overwhelming. You've really, really done justice to this, ma, and we're so looking forward to tomorrow, the conclusive part of the first section. We're super excited that you are our tutor, because definitely we couldn't have had it better with all the patience, explanations. Even when we're asking questions on something that you literally just explained, you would still take your time to explain it. And I must say that we're really, really appreciative of this. And thank you. That's all we can say. To the audience or to the participants, including myself, to the organizers, see you tomorrow.
Thank you all. Thanks for having me. I'm humbled. Thank you and have a good night's rest.